What's up everybody, Lefty Luke here. Thanks for tuning in. Today I am going to be ranking my favorite Children of Bodom studio albums from my least favorite to my most favorite. And before I can even get into any of that, I have to take a moment to say, rest in peace, Alexi Laiho. Truly an inspiration to so many guitar players, myself included. He was really the rock star guitar player of my generation. His influence on the guitar as an instrument really can't be understated. From the technique side of things, he had all kinds of instructional DVDs from new and established music publishers alike. He really became the standard for what the style of shred metal guitar was. He was the guy when it comes to that sound. I remember the first time I heard of him, it was in a Guitar World magazine. He was always in there. Music just flowed out of him. You could tell it wasn't forced. It wasn't anything like that. Even when he broke down the technique, just the way you watched him play, it was just so effortless for him. And on the gear side of things, he is an extremely influential Jackson Rhodes style V. It's very well known for just having one EMG, very minimal electronics. There's been all kinds of different color variations on it, from like pink or yellow or green, like a black pinstripe on the white V, or my personal favorite, the white pinstripe on the black V. Now that is a good looking guitar. If anybody sees any left-hand versions of those on the internet, please send my way. I doubt I'll be able to afford them, but you know, maybe I can at least put a price on my kidney. And not only on the technique side of things and the gear side of things, he's really just an influence on the metal culture as a whole. They really made Scandinavian shred metal cool. They were touring with bands like Lamb of God and Mastodon and Megadeth in the United States, and really bringing this neoclassical shred from Scandinavia down to America and making it cool, you know? They weren't nerds running around in the forest in capes. They were cool dudes with tattoos that liked to drink beer and party, and you just wanted to party with them. So it really made it feel cool to like Finnish shred metal. Rest in peace, Alexi. Thank you for the years of great music. So as a tribute to Alexi and the Children of Bodom as a whole, I'm going to be going through their studio album catalog and ranking them from my least favorite to my most favorite. Just a disclaimer, I love all of their studio albums. They have never put out a bad album. If I'm putting this album towards the bottom, it's not because it's a bad album. Alright, and starting out the list, at number 10, we have their first album that came out in 1997. I'm talking about Something Wild, that came out on Spine Farm Records. They were a very young band at the time. I believe Alexi was like 17 when he recorded this, which is crazy when you listen to some of the guitar solos on this. The fact that he was shredding these and writing so much of this music when he was 17 just really speaks to how much of a genius he is. The reason I would put this one a little lower is they are a younger band. They've got a lot more of their neoclassical shred kind of elements on this, which I don't like as much. I can't put this album above any of the others on the list, so for that reason I'm putting it at number 10. There are some great songs on this. Lake Bodom is probably the biggest one from this album. And the album I am ranking at number 9 is Relentless, Reckless Forever, their 2011 album. This was actually their second highest charting album in the US. It came in at number 42 on the Billboard Top 200 albums. It starts off with Not My Funeral, which is a great opener. It kind of builds and then explodes. Shovel Knockout, one of my favorite Bodom songs, definitely my favorite on this album. But it is a little bit of a bookended album, because in the middle it gets a little, not bad, but there's not a lot of standout tracks in the middle of it. Ends it with Cry of the Nihilist, which is an absolute guitar shred fest. They have the lead single, Was It Worth It, which is okay, not one of my favorite ones, and then they end it with North Pole Throwdown, which is an absolute thrasher of a song. I like a lot of the songs, but I don't think as an album as a whole it can rank above some of the others, so for that reason I'm leaving it at number 9. And the album I am ranking at number 8 on the list would be 2015's I Worship Chaos. I was actually lucky to see the band, I believe, twice on this tour cycle. This is actually the only Children of Bodom album to only feature Alexi as the sole guitar player on the record. So you really just have Alexi's raw tone coming through, and it is more of a bare knuckle beatdown kind of an album. There's not as much flavor and nuance. It's really just kind of coming straight for the punch on this one. This is also the first album they use drop B tuning on, so it really brings out the heaviness. Comes out swinging with the first song, I Hurt, which just has an absolutely crushing main riff and chorus. And the album doesn't slow down after that first track. It bleeds right into the second track called My Bodom. And up next is a song called More Again, where they have some of those keyboard textures that kind of fill in where there may have been another guitar player adding a little something. It adds a little texture to it. Great song to listen to during the colder weather months as it is right now. And then from there you have a few other bangers like Horns. Prayer for the Afflicted is kind of like a ballad with some like spoken word kind of verses. The title track is an absolute banger with a great sing-along chorus. And then the rest of the album, it's alright, it's not bad, but it doesn't have as many standout tracks. Alright, and coming in at number 7, we have their second album, 1999's Hatebreeder. And this one is neoclassical AF. Lots of Baroque elements and orchestral hits that they're known for. Definitely get some of the stronger black metal influence on it. Comes out swinging with the song Warheart. Second song, Silent Night, Bodom Night. Does it kind of sound like Dissection? Yes. Do I care? No. It's got a really cool lead melody where they do this thing live. They'll kind of like go over the fretboards and play it. It's really cool. I mean, this is literally their second album. Like, I don't even think they're 21 yet when they recorded this, so the fact that they're recording this technical of an album at that young is absolutely insane in the membrane. I want to call out some deep cuts on this one. Black Widow and Wrath Within are both great deep cuts on this album. There's one riff in the song Wrath Within. Try saying that 20 times fast. There's one riff in the song Wrath Within that just really is so dark and evil sounding. And then to close out the album, you have a Bodom epic in Downfall. I mean, that song alone is a reason to put this album at number 7 because it's just an absolute epic, a staple in their live set. If you've ever seen Bodom live, you know how pumped you get when Yane goes do 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 do.
Tear it up, you fucking asshole! Thank you!
At number 6, we have 2013's Halo of Blood. Now, this was their first album on Nuclear Blast. This tour cycle was actually the first time I got to see Bodom, which would have been in 2013 at a Mayhem Fest. So getting to see them on a side stage was absolutely crazy. And this album really touches back to their Scandinavian roots. I mentioned Relentless, Reckless Forever earlier, having some kind of slower, more mid-tempo songs that are just kind of meh in the middle. And this album came afterwards and just really brought it back to their roots. They've got lots of great dark Scandinavian kind of black metal tinges to it, and it sounds great when you're listening to it in the wintertime. And then the lead single off this album, Transference, is a really great example of the like Bodom song structure, what they really do well. They have this minor key main riff and that they kind of touch on in the verse, and they build up all these minor key elements so you're just feeling gloomy. And then in the chorus, all of a sudden, boom, break out this anthemic chorus with these major key hooks and melodies, and it just, that juxtaposition is really what makes Bodom unique, and you hear that in a lot of their songs, and I think Transference is a great example of that. And calling out a deep cut on this album, I have to go with Bodom Blue Moon. Easily one of my favorite Bodom songs of all time, and easily one of the most underrated Bodom songs of all time. I mean, that middle riff, if you're not headbanging, don't talk to me. And now as we get into the top 5, I'm really splitting hairs here. It's hard to differentiate between them because they're all so good. But at number 5, I'm coming in with their most recent and last full-length album, which was 2019's Hexed. So after I Worship Chaos, they were able to get another guitar player in the band to do the live portion of that tour cycle. And then after that, they kept him along. He plays on this album and adds a nice complement to Alexi's sound, rounds it out and makes it sound like a full Bodom album. Under Grass and Clover, such a melodic, catchy song. I mean, this melody, if it doesn't get stuck in your head, I don't know how. The next song, Glass Houses, is probably my favorite on the album. I mean, if you're not headbanging to that main riff, I don't know what you're doing. After that, it goes into Hecate's Nightmare. I know I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. And that is one of the most unique Bodom songs. It's a little slower, but it's more dark and eerie. It's really a unique Bodom song. I can't think of any other songs in their catalog that I can even really compare it to. It's just really refreshing to see a band that's 10 studio albums into their career can still innovate and create a new and unique sound. The rest of the songs are fantastic as well. Lots of great melodies, really just classic Bodom as you'd love it. Also, this doesn't have anything to do with the music, but the artwork on this album is probably my favorite Bodom album artwork. I just love the purple color they have on it. Just that juxtaposition of like the royal purple color with like this dead and decaying kind of Reaper. Up next, we have number 4 on this list, 2008's Blooddrunk. And this album was actually their highest charting album in the US ever. This one came in at number 22 on the US Billboard 200 albums chart. And how huge is it for a Finnish extreme metal band to come in at number 22 on the Billboard 200 charts? Well, just for comparison, I decided to look it up to see who was number 2 on the Billboard 200 charts as of recording this, and that artist is called Miley Cyrus. So that just shows you the kind of company that Bodom was in when they charted with this album. I mean, that's a Finnish extreme metal band at the same spot that Miley Cyrus is currently occupying. Of course, when you have an extreme metal band charting that high, you're gonna have some detractors. This album, it is easily one of my favorites. One of my favorite Bodom cardio albums, start to finish. Like, I can just put on this album and go for a run and not have to worry about changing it, because literally, like, it does not slow down one bit. It comes out ripping with the opening track, Hellhounds on My Trail, which also doesn't have any kind of build. It just comes out ripping. It also has one of the most punch-in-the-face, all-out assault, just riff stomp you into the ground riffs of any Children of Bodom song in their catalog. And then right after that, they go into the title track, Blooddrunk, which is a Bodom classic, a live set staple, and they really don't slow down. Like, it's just banger after banger after banger. This is one of their most angry and pissed off records, I think, in their entire catalog. And as we move on in this list, it continues to get harder and harder for me to rank them, but I gotta make a decision somehow. So, coming in at number 3, I have got 2003's Hate Crew Deathroll. This album actually contains the song that got me into Bodom, and that song is the opening track, Needled 24/7. Comes out ripping. It's an absolute shred fest. I mean, I can remember being in like the 7th grade and just kind of like kicking rocks off to the side in gym class. So you just go and put in your iPod and listen to that song on repeat. It was really my gateway into like melodic extreme metal as a whole, but it doesn't slow down from there. Of course, after that, they go into 6 Pounder, which is easily one of the heaviest Bodom songs of all time. That down-tuned descending riff. And it's no secret at this point in their career, they were touring with many, many more American bands that had a little bit more of a hardcore influence, like your Killswitch Engages, your Lamb of Gods, brought the heavy down-tuned chung-chung, chung-chung kind of sound. So Bodom started to take a little bit of that, and you really start to see it come through on Hate Crew Deathroll. And there's really no bad songs on this album. Little Blood Red Riding Hood, Triple Corpse Hammer Throw. I mean, those titles are fantastic. And of course, as the album comes to a close, they play the title track, Hate Crew Deathroll, which is another Bodom anthem, if not the ultimate Bodom anthem. If you've ever been at a Bodom show and you know when that song gets to the end and everyone's singing along to the lyrics, it's just such a unifying experience.
With a hate crew. That is right.
Hate Crew Deathroll, an absolute ripper, could easily have been number 1 on my list. Coming in at number 2, from the year 2000, this was their 3rd full-length album. It brings those neoclassical shred elements that you had from Something Wild and Hatebreeder, but it really brings it into their own unified sound. I think the biggest thing about this album is the songwriting just stepped up from like here to here. Of course, you have the hits on this album like the title track, Bodom After Midnight, Every Time I Die, No Not That Every Time I Die. And of course, towards the end of the album, you have the song Hate Me. Starts out with that really eerie, breaks away into a great melody, has that great call-out chanting chorus. But in addition to the anthems and the live set staples, one thing I really wanted to call out was the deep cuts on this album. I mean, the breakdown in the middle of the song Children of Decadence. Don't be around me when that comes on. Northern Comfort and Kissing the Shadows to end the album is a fantastic way to do so. I mean, Follow the Reaper start to finish is a classic. I could listen to it at any time. They really just stepped it up a notch on this one. But There is one album that is even better than that, in my opinion. I'm talking about the #1 Bodom album according to Lefty Luke, and that album is 2005's Are You Dead Yet? This album holds a special place in my heart because it was the first Children of Bodom album I ever bought. It was this exact CD. I think I was probably in like the 8th or 9th grade when I bought it. It's hard to say, but that after I got this album, that was it. I was a Bodom fan for life. I was just blown away at the sounds on this album. As a young, impressionable guitar player, just hearing these back and forth solos between the two guitar players, not to mention when they throw Yane into it and do keyboard solos, do harmonies with the keyboards, do harmonies with the other guitar player. They really step up the heavy drop tune riffs on this one as well. Of course, you have the hits like Living Deadbeat, the title track Are You Dead Yet? And of course, In Your Face, which if you've seen Bodom live, you've seen them play that live song and you know how crazy that pit gets. It's a fun time. But even besides those hits and even putting the nostalgia factor aside, there's still some absolute heaters on this album. I am talking about If You Want Peace, Prepare for War. I remember being in my mother's basement and just woodshedding, trying to learn that song, not to mention actually trying to play it up to speed. I mean, that is a fast song. And then the album comes to a close with the 1, 2, 3 punch of Bastards of Bodom, Trashed, Lost, and Strung Out, and We're Not Gonna Fall, which is an absolute epic. That bridge in that song still gives me chills, like, to this day. Few bands can say they've put out a consistent murderer's row of studio albums throughout their career. Most bands are lucky if they have 2 or 3. Bodom had 10 killer albums, their entire studio catalog. I mean, I can really put on any of these albums and listen to them just start to finish. Get it? Finnish? Because they're from Finland? All right. And you really wouldn't have these great albums, again, without Alexi Laiho. Truly a pioneer, an innovator, a shredder, an inspiration to so many. And I don't even think that words are the best way to carry on his legacy. I think the best way to do so is just cranking up some Children of Bodom riffs at any opportunity you can. So leave a comment below. Let me know what your favorite Bodom album is. Let me know where you would have ranked them. Make sure you subscribe below and ring that bell so you get notifications when I put out new videos. I'm gonna be doing a lot more. I haven't really done a lot of videos about metal. If you like metal and you want me to do more videos about metal, baby, I can talk about it all day. So let me know in the comments. Follow me on social media at The Lefty Luke. Thanks again for tuning in. Rest in peace, Alexi Laiho. Long live Children of Bodom, and stay metal.